Why is this piece of paper, a dollar bill, a 20-euro note, actually worth anything at all? It's one of those questions that's so simple, so fundamental that we almost never stop to think about it. But the answer, it turns out, is less about gold or governments and more about a beautiful story of human cooperation. So to figure it out, we're going to tell that story. We're going to build a tiny world from scratch and find out exactly where money gets its power.
No, really, just think about it for a second. You can't eat it, you can't build a shelter with it, and it's not some IOU for a chunk of gold sitting in a vault anymore. For all intents and purposes, it's useless. So why do we all agree to trade things we actually need, our time, our labor, our food, for these colorful little rectangles? See, the secret isn't in the paper itself. It's all about the problem that it solves for us. All right, to really get to the bottom of this, we're going to do a little thought experiment. It's a classic tool from economics, sometimes called an overlapping generations model. We're essentially going to create a tiny, super simple toy economy. And by setting up the rules for this little world, we can pinpoint the exact problem that money was basically invented to fix. Okay, so first things first, we've got to see what the world looks like without money. This is going to help us see the fundamental friction, the big roadblock that makes something like money so necessary in the first place. What happens when people want to trade, but something crucial is missing? Okay, so here are the rules of the game in our little world. They're really simple. First, everyone lives for just 2 periods. You're either young or you're old. Second, you only get stuff, let's just call it food, when you're young. When you're old, you can't produce anything. Third, and this is a big one, the food goes bad. It's perishable. You can't just store it for later. And finally, the most important rule of all, you want to be able to eat when you're young and when you're old. Makes sense, right? And this is where we hit our first major snag. You've got the young generation who are sitting on a pile of food. And then you have the old generation who are hungry but have absolutely nothing to trade. The young would love to save some food for when they're old, but the old folks have nothing the young want right now. There's a total mismatch. It's what economists call the absence of a double coincidence of wants. Basically, for a trade to happen, I need to have what you want and you need to have what I want at the exact same time. And here, that's just not happening. So what happens? Well, the result is pretty grim. No trade can happen. The young are forced to eat all their food before it spoils, and the old, well, they go hungry. Everyone is stuck. They're isolated and unable to cooperate. This is obviously a terrible outcome for everyone. They'd all be happier if the young could just give some food to the old, knowing that they'd get food in return when they eventually become old. But how do you make that happen? Before we try to fix this mess, let's ask ourselves, what would a perfect world even look like here? Imagine for a second we had a benevolent, all-powerful social planner who could just step in and rearrange everything to make everyone as happy as possible. What would that ideal situation look like? What would they do? Economists have a cool name for this perfect outcome. They call it the golden rule allocation. It's basically the best-case scenario. It's the ideal way to share the food between the young and the old, generation after generation, to make sure everyone, now and in the future, is as happy and well-off as they can possibly be. This is our utopian benchmark. This is the goal. Okay, so that's our goal. That's the mountaintop, the best possible life for everyone in our simple little world. But here's the million-dollar question. Can we get there without some all-powerful planner forcing everyone to share? Can a bunch of individuals, just trying to do what's best for themselves, achieve this perfect outcome on their own? And this, right here, is where our hero enters the story. This is the breakthrough. We're going to introduce just one new thing into our world, something that seems totally worthless on its own, but is about to change everything. Yep, you guessed it. We're going to introduce money. And we're talking about a very specific kind of money called fiat money. In our little world, this is just a durable, useless object. Think of it like a special kind of seashell or a marked up piece of paper. You can't eat it, you can't build with it. It has zero value on its own. It's just a token. So why on earth would anyone want it? Well, here's how the magic works. Imagine we just give the very first old generation a handful of these tokens. They can now go to the young folks and say, hey, I'll trade you these tokens for some of your food. Now, why would the young ever agree to that? Not because the tokens are useful, but because they believe that in the next period, when they are old, a brand new generation of young people will accept those same tokens for their food. Money suddenly becomes this incredible bridge that connects the present to the future. It's a chain of belief that links generations together. And here is the truly incredible part. The moment we introduce this useless piece of paper, Our little economy, which was completely stuck, spontaneously organizes itself and achieves that perfect outcome, the golden rule. The young can now effectively save for the future by selling their extra food for money, and the old can live off their savings by spending that money. Everyone is way better off. Society reaches its maximum possible happiness, all without anyone being in charge. It's amazing.
So, what is really going on here? Is money just some neat economic trick? Well, it's actually something much, much deeper. It's serving a profound social function. It's acting as a piece of technology for society. The big idea here, which folks like the economist Narayana Kocherlakota have really explored, is that money is essentially memory. It's a physical record that society keeps. It's a way for society to remember who did what for whom. Think of it like this. One way to solve our problem is to have this massive, perfect public spreadsheet that tracks every single promise. It would record, hey, Alice gave food to Bob, so she is owed food in the future. But come on, that would be incredibly complex and expensive to maintain, right? Well, fiat money, it does the exact same thing, but in a practical, low-cost, decentralized way. Holding a dollar bill is just society's simple way of remembering that you are owed something valuable because you already gave something valuable to someone else. So when you boil it all down, the key takeaway is that money isn't just about buying stuff. It's a foundational social technology. It's this brilliant invention that solves a fundamental problem of trust and record keeping between strangers across time. It bridges generations, it stores value, and most importantly, it acts as a cheap public memory system for who owes what to whom. And that leaves you with a pretty mind-bending thought, doesn't it? Money is this piece of social software that we all agree to run in our heads, and it allows for this incredible, complex cooperation. It makes you wonder, what other invisible systems, what other forms of social memory or unspoken agreements are quietly holding our modern world together right now?